All right. Very good evening to one and all present for these 2 days workshop on referencing style and the best way to structure research paper. On behalf of MTC Global and Knowledge Cafe, I extend a hearty welcome to all of you. It's a great pleasure to have you on board. And I can see that there are many participants, those who had joined previously in our some other programs as well. So I could see their names. Thank you so much, okay, for your presence today. And we have with us today's resource person for today and tomorrow, Dr. Vasanthi Reena Williams, professor and head Department of Management Studies, Vidya Vikas Institute of Engineering and Technology, Mysuru, Karnataka. Ma'am, a hearty welcome to you also, and thank you so much for your presence amidst the busy schedule and be with us today and tomorrow. So I'll not take much time. Ma'am, kindly please take over.
Thank you so much, sir, for the kind introduction. And very good evening to everybody present here. Before I start, I would request all of you to please keep a pen and a sheet of paper with you because we'll have a small activity so that it is more productive rather than being only a lecture series. I prefer it to be more of an activity so that when you finish the workshop or when you finish this session, you will have something to take away. So please keep some stationery with you, please. So let's move ahead. I I guess the screen is visible because when I'm going to the full screen, yeah. So here it is. We are starting with. I hope I'm clear, round and clear. If I'm going too fast or if you're not able to follow me, please let me know so that I can go back or I can correct myself. So the first, what the contents of today's session, we have two sessions as you are already aware of. One is about the referencing style, and the second is about the structuring of a research article. Now, I guess as I see the names or I see the photographs of you on the in the group, I guess all of you are faculty members, or at least all of you have completed your PG course. This is what I understand. But if I put the full screen, I'm not able to see the messages. So you can post your message as well. If you have any doubts, you can post your message if you're not comfortable speaking. So one is a structuring of the research article. I felt this would be the first topic and for the day, and then followed by the referencing style tomorrow, because we see that until and unless you know how to, you must be aware of the research process. So I'm giving you the intricacies of how you can better your research article, and both these aspects are very important. Whereas when it comes to referencing, that is always at the end of the paper. So I felt I can keep it for the next day, and that's how it is. Now going to the, I think I have to keep yes, I'll do it this way. So structuring of the contents. One is the format of a research article. This is what you'll be learning, or I'll be sharing my knowledge about, followed by the contents of the sections of a research article, and then the focus areas that we need to pay attention to when we are writing a research article. So this is something all of you would know, because in all the postgraduate courses, we are taught about research methodology, whichever stream you come from, whether it's the MCA or the MBA or MCOM or MSW, all of you would have studied this, and hence I don't think this is going to be very new to you when you look at this image on your screen. So the structure of a research paper, you see the title, abstract, introduction. This is the flow, right? Introduction, literature review, methods, result, discussion, conclusion, and references. But then, what are the factors that we need to keep in mind is something that we'll be discussing today, and I'll be sharing my knowledge on. When you look at that flow, it can be divided into three main divisions. An article can be divided into these three divisions. The first division is the title, the abstract, and the keyword, which is very important, especially when you're looking for ensuring that you have citations, ensuring that more and more people read your article. And the second section is the main text, where you include your justification for the study, and maybe the methodology, your analysis, your discussions, and then your findings from the study, and what you would suggest or you conclude from what you have done. And then finally, you're giving credit to all those people from whom you got these ideas. We call this as their references, and then maybe some acknowledgement. So we'll be going to each one of them. So this is basically the three important divisions. Usually, we observe, or generally all of us make a mistake of only paying more attention to the main text. Okay, we seem to not give much attention to the title, abstract, keywords, or the reference. We feel that that can be taken for granted, but that is where we many of us make mistakes. So let's go ahead. I'll be going into each one of them. Now, title, abstract, and keywords, generally you all know what it is. So title is the name of your study, but then including it in also includes your name, or if you have a co-author, then you're writing the name of the co-author as well, and then your affiliation and the author note. So usually most of the journals, when you're sending a journal article for publication, they would have mentioned some guidelines for you. So the first page will always have that is called the title page, wherein you're writing the title of your article, followed by your name, your designation, and if you have authors, then you're writing the co-author's name as well, your institution affiliation. If you're from a company, then the name of your organization, and then maybe your contact address, email ID, etc. Followed by the next page, where again it starts with the title. I'll be showing you some copies of soft copies of an article, so that whatever I'm telling you, I can justify through that. Okay, and then you have sometimes they even ask for an author note in the beginning itself. So your author note is a brief about the author. This is basically what the first page will consist of, followed by the abstract, where again it starts with the title and then the abstract. An abstract is a summary of the whole study. Now, many of us make a mistake again. We write the abstract in the beginning. It's not wrong to write, but usually the actual procedure is, when you say summary, it means it consists of what you have done for the study, what process you have followed, what methods you have followed, and the outcome of the study. So how can you write the outcome initially, right? So that is the reason why you write it later. As we go further, you'll understand the importance of the title, the abstract, and the keywords. And the keyword, the third one mentioned here, that's the first division of the article. These are helping the indexing agencies to highlight your paper when somebody is searching for them. See, now you all know about literature review. This is where we go when we are doing a study, when we are following a study. We look into similar studies conducted by people, other researchers, students, maybe, or any maybe a research scholar or whoever. And then we try to, it is not only a study, it could also be a blog, it could be an article, it could be a discussion. So we read that, and then we try to inculcate, collect some information, and then try to incorporate it in an article. So when you put in some words, like supposing I want to do something on stress management, it's a very common topic. So you mention stress management in the most usually we go to the most common search engine, and that is Google. So we go to Google search, and then we mention this stress management, and we get a list of articles, right? So to ensure that the system is able to the indexing agency is able to identify those keywords and share with you all these articles, you would want your article also. If you have written an article on this, you would also want your article to come, right? So how does that happen? That happens when you have this keyword, okay, when you put in proper keyword. So we'll just work on that a little bit as we go further, so you'll understand how important it is. Because usually we as researchers, when we are doing a study, we are researchers, right? So we tend to take these things very lightly. So going further, first let us understand what is a title. Why is it important to highlight and understand how to frame a title? So usually we just we don't take it so seriously. We, as I said, we look into the body of the article and then start giving more importance to the analysis, the outcomes, the conclusion, and maybe the statistical inferences. We give all those importance to that. But then, until and unless the title is interesting, nobody is going to read your article. Why are you writing an article? You're doing it because you want somebody to read it, and then you want somebody to cite it. Some cite means to mention in their study that they found something good from your study. You have put so much of effort and you require somebody to cite your article. So the title, first of all, should be interesting. See, what do we do when we read newspapers? If we don't have time, we just glance through the headlines. But sometimes we go further than the headline to read about it. Why? Because we find that the title is very interesting, or it captures our interest, and that makes us to read a little bit more about that article, right? Similarly, this is the same with our studies as well, research articles as well. So how do you frame a title? It should be concise, not too long. And I have mentioned here it's between 10 to 13 words. Sometimes the journals, they provide their own guidelines, and they will tell you how long or how within how many words your title should be. So you have to keep it. If a guideline is provided, you have to follow that. Otherwise, maximum within 10 to 13 words. And if your article is more than 5600 words, this is something, a general prescription to having some tables and figures rather than plain text. Okay, and this will help in attracting more citations, because this is what we are looking for. So this article that you see, this slide that you see on your screen, is a standard structure. This is what I've taken. I'll show you the references also, so in case you want to go through, you can for further reading, you can do that. So here I'm not going to read each and every word, because that it should be specific, accurate, and all those things. But the important thing that I want to tell you is, when you are writing a title, don't write abbreviated words, something which is new, okay, or an acronym that you have created which nobody else is aware of. Don't write acronyms. So like, for example, let me use a very common word, CSR, corporate social responsibility. Now this is very throughout the world, everybody knows about CSR, so that's not a problem. But supposing I create a acronym, like now you can see one acronym there. I'll just highlight it. You can see this title should be spiced, SPICED. So what is title should be spiced? It stands for setting, population. So SP, intervention, condition, endpoint, and design. So they say a title should have all these points, so that you can keep this so don't have those kind of acronyms which nobody is aware of, or very few people are aware of. Okay, these are a no. And then you should, another thing that I've highlighted is, place the study and sample size should be mentioned only if it adds a significant or scientific value. Place of the study, that is, if I've done the study in Bangalore, if I did this, so a study in Bangalore city, a study in Pune. So don't mention that until and unless it adds some scientific value. I'll show you I'll display an article written where it says Mysore city specifically. Why? Here it becomes important because that if a person, if it was not written Mysore city, was the study is conducted in Mysore city, if it is not mentioned, then the meaning of that whole conclusion would go haywire. It might not justify. Okay, so until and unless it justifies, you should not mention, it's not necessary to mention the place. Similarly, you need not mention the name of the company also until and unless it is required. Okay, otherwise you can mention in a company, in a corporate or something like that. We'll go further and we'll see that. And it's always better to have descriptive titles instead of declarative or interrogative. Interrogative means, with a question mark. So it should not be like that. It should not be declarative. Declarative means you're finalizing and saying something. It should not be. So let it be more descriptive in nature. Okay, we'll work on a small activity which will, maybe you two will understand how a title can be framed. And usually, see, I've also mentioned here that the journal will mention how much words should be in the title. So supposing you have a huge title, it's like 15 or 20 words, and they mention it should be not more than 10 words, then you will have to edit it and make sure it matches with the guidelines prescribed by the journal. So that is there. Okay, otherwise fine. This is about the title. Next, I'm going to the structure of an abstract. Now, here, if we have people here who are from the pure science stream or the engineering stream, yes, you follow this method. That is, you will have different paragraphs where you mention about the objective, your methods adopted, your results, your conclusion. All that will be mentioned. You will be mentioning it in a separate paragraph in the abstract. Whereas those coming from the social science stream, like the MBA or the MCOM, the LLB, law background, people from the law background, or social work background, all these social science studies, here the abstract is like a paragraph. It need not be a different paragraph like what I've mentioned here. Okay, but the contents are almost the same. Okay, in case of pure science or engineering stream, they need to mention more specifically. So that is the difference between the structure of an abstract. One is you're mentioning the main objective of your study, you're mentioning what methods you have adopted to do the study, what are the results or the outcome of a study, and then you give a conclusion saying this is what I found, and maybe you can even mention how it can be taken further by someone. Okay, and then it ends with a keynote. So how do you identify keynotes? Usually keynotes, as I already mentioned earlier, this helps in the indexing agency to identify it uses the keywords to highlight your paper when somebody is looking for it. So, and that is a very important point to be noted or to be kept in mind by all researchers or anybody who's presenting a paper. The appropriate keywords will also be there in the number of keywords will also be mentioned in the journal. In case it is not mentioned, maybe 5 to 7 is always a if in case they've not mentioned, that's quite a normal number of keywords that you have to mention. Here you can mention the full form. Let's say, supposing as I said, CSR. Supposing I'm doing a study on CSR, then I can mention CSR and then give the full form of that, so that the whole manuscript will have CSR in between. So when I mention it in the keyword, they would have read that, and that helps me to stop repeating that corporate social responsibility throughout. I can use the acronym instead. Okay, so acronym is not mentioned in the title, but you're mentioning it in the keyword. Until and unless the acronym is a very common acronym, don't use it in the title. I hope I'm making myself clear. Another important point is that the keyword should be arranged in an alphabetical order. Okay, like supposing I say it is corporate social responsibility, then the keywords that I'm doing in the study would mean a corporate social responsibility, of course, along with that sustainability, social activity. So these are all the words, right? So these should be arranged in an alphabetical order. So corporate social responsibility, and I said social activities, so C will come first, then followed by S, that way. Okay, so it should be arranged in an alphabetical order. Now I'm giving you an activity. I hope I'm making myself clear. Am I going too fast? I'm trying to fit everything into this 1.5 hours. That's why. Hello? Are we going at the correct
That's good.
pace?
You
Yeah,
can continue.
someone's raised their hands. You can unmute yourself and speak. Oh, thank you so much. Okay. So now, see, I have a activity now. Before we go to the body of the letter, we are in the first session, right? So, first part. This is an abstract. You can quickly go through it, please. Or if you want me to read, I'll read it. Or if you can read it, if it's clear enough for you to read, it's very important that you read it. That's why. Either if you're not able to read, I'll read it out, or you can read it yourself. Can I give you 3 minutes? Is that sufficient? Okay. Sunita Kumari mentions that she's not able to read it. I'll read it out. The abstract: changes in lifestyle due to upgradation in technology is very evident all over the world. Therefore, we might safely state that technology has come to the aid of every individual during the pandemic in every aspect we can think of. An attempt is being made through this study to examine the type or class of apps that people from different age groups download and use on their mobile handsets, and further to examine the benefits that such individuals are deriving from the use of such apps. The study also focuses on popular features that individuals, that is, respondents, choose on their mobile handsets and the level of satisfaction that they have derived after using those apps. The outcome of the study is based on responses collected from 200 respondents, that is, salaried individuals, businessmen, and housewives, using stratified random sampling technique, living in Mysore city, which is one of the fastest growing cities in the country and is also known as the cultural capital of Karnataka state, situated in South India. The study gives insight into the trend among people, which might continue in future as well. When used effectively, the apps can make our lives more productive, well managed, and successful. It can therefore give a perspective overview of likes and dislikes regarding apps and thereby motivate development of new apps in future. So I hope you have noted the abstract. You can type the message and tell me if you're not able to unmute. No problem. It's better not to unmute also, because then it might we might have a problem with connectivity issues. So I think you've understood what the abstract is speaking about. uh, don't you think, are you able to understand that it is giving a brief about what this the topic is about. So when you read the abstract, you know that it is something to do with apps, how people are using the apps. The author has taken responses from different people, around 200 respondents, and the author has mentioned that they have taken from different respondents, meaning salaried individuals, businessmen, housewives. That means all of them have different mindset, different requirements. So the view is not only on one part of the society, but using everybody, diverse. And it is mentioned that they have used a particular type of sampling technique, and this is from a city, Mysore city. Why have they mentioned Mysore city? So it shows that it is not, so this response or this study, the outcome of the study pertains to people living in this area. So if you do this study in Delhi, if you do this study in Jammu and Kashmir, if you do this study in Sri Lanka or any other place, it might not match. It may or may not match, because Mysore city has a different cultural diversity. The demographic features might be different. It may be the same or it might not be the same. So you're trying to tell them that if you find it similar, well and good. If you don't find it, it means that in Mysore, this is the mindset of the people. That's why they mentioned the name of it. Was important to mention the state. So yes, Namrata, is it Namrata? Dr. Namrata, you have something to say? Okay, I heard, saw her hand up. Okay, well, so it also means that the study. It also says that what it is. A brief introduction, the procedure adopted by the researcher, and it also says that it is giving insight into the trend of the people, like trying to find out the trend of the people living in Mysore city. And it also says that this will study will help people who are developing new apps to know what are the likes and dislikes, and they can come forward with new apps. So this is the abstract. Okay, so I've just explained that because you could not read, that's the reason. So now we are having, I'm showing you how to frame a title. Okay, so for this I would require you to use your pen and paper. That's why I said so, but I'm giving you some tips before we go ahead. The first thing that you should do is, so you have your own study, you can use that as an example, no problem. Okay, so the first step that you have to do is you have to identify the objective of your study. What is your objective? You have done a study, then you can use that study as an example for the activity that we are doing now. Now the here, what does this study's objective? What is the objective of the study? To study gender variations in the usage of specific gaps between men and women. Influence of smartphones among men and women in Mysore city on the basis of socio-cultural background. So it is, they have mentioned in the abstract that it is an upcoming small town. I mean, like, it's a semi-urban place and so on. So on that basis, they're trying to find out on the basis of socio-cultural background. So this is the objective of the study, to find out whether there's any gender variations in the usage of specific apps. So I've written an answer. So if it is your topic, you have written something, you identify the objective of your study. Once you've done that, are you doing it or are you following? If there's anything, please let me know. I can see someone, Srivastava, Namita Srivastava Nimkar. Dr. Namita, right? Do you have any doubts? You've raised your hands. You can message if you're not able to.
Hello. Hello,
Yes.
good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, good evening. Tell
I
me.
just wanted to say sorry that I just joined late a little bit. I was
No,
in.
that's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah, yeah.
That's okay.
Rest everything is okay, ma'am. I'm here only. Yeah, I'm
Okay,
listening.
okay.
I'm listening.
So no, you raised your hands. That's why. Okay. So
Yes.
please, if you can, if you already have an article, please identify the objective. Don't worry about mistakes. This is how we learn. So here, I just given you an illustration of the objective of this particular study. I've given you the abstract. Now I'm showing you how we can frame a title for that. Maybe I have framed a title, maybe you can frame a better title, no issues. Okay, we are always learning. So the objective. Now the second is what methods or techniques have been adopted to conduct the study. They have adopted the survey method, right? This is what we understand from the abstract or from the article. Then the third, subject of the study. This is usage of apps by men and women and type of apps downloaded. This is the subject of the study, because when we understand, the study requires to know or collect information regarding the type of apps that people in Mysore city, that is they have identified certain respondents or the samples, and then they are trying to see what are the common types of apps that these people download, and for what are they using it. So that will help the developers to come up with better apps, or even for the marketers to know through which app they can promote their, because nowadays almost most of the apps have advertisements, right? So that is another way. So, and the last one, the fourth point, is finding. So this is the first step. Okay, the findings of the study. What is the findings? Smartphones have become indispensable for all. Smartphones affect socio-cultural backgrounds, as users of apps tend to change their lifestyle, their social approach, and overall outlook towards their life, career, etc. So this is the findings of the study. Okay, so this is the first step. First step, that is, you're identifying the objective of your study, what methods you have adopted, subject of your study, and the findings of your study. If this is clear, can I go to the next slide? Can I go to step 2? If you have any doubts here, you can ask
Yes,
me.
ma'am.
Okay. Yeah, I presume one person has answered. I presume everybody has the same. Okay, now we are going to step 2. When you go to step 2, you can see what I've done. I have combined all those answers. See, I put it in italics. Can you see this? I've put this in italics. The answers in italics. I've only, what I've done is I've copy pasted all that together and put it in step 2. Okay. So for all those points, I put it in step 2. So if you can see this, all these are the answers that I have got from there. Okay. First is I have these points. Identify, this is step 1. I identify the objective of the study, the methods adopted, the subject of the study, and the findings of the study. Next, I put it all together. Whatever I got, I combined all that process. This is step 2. And when it comes to step 3, I'm framing a sentence by using this whole paragraph. Okay, you can have a whole paragraph, no problems at all. Okay, what you're doing is you're combining this whole process, and you're framing a title by eliminating essential non-essential words. Now you see smartphones, so many smartphones written here, so I think one is enough, right? So you can identify, and you frame another sentence. So this sentence may be a little more bigger. It may be 20 words, it may be 30 words. Don't worry, put it, and then keep editing till you come to the last. Okay, I hope I'm getting it through to you. Now coming to the fourth step. Okay, the first step, you've identified everything. Second step, you put it all together. The third step, you're eliminating unnecessary words, you're editing it. That's the meaning. Okay, you're editing those words. And fourth step, you may require a subtitle sometimes. Subtitle means, like I put an example here, a subtitle like a study in Mysore city. That's a subtitle. Or if it is something else, it's not related to this, but I'm just giving an example, a case study of postgraduate students, something like that. Okay, so identify whether is there a need to mention the name of the city. In this case, yes, because we have to identify the demographics. That is the background. People in Bangalore might be, a more cosmopolitan place when compared to a place like Mysore. So yes, I need to identify, because what outcomes of the study that I get in Mysore might not, may or may not. So it might not be applicable to a place like Bangalore. So, is there a need to mention the name of the city in this case? Yes. Does it create curiosity? Yes or no? Does it generate interest in the mind of a reader? Yes or no? And does it give any suggestions? So it is giving some suggestions saying that the developers can come up with something new. It also means that marketers also, yeah, right, that is also an option. Marketers can come up with an option of advertising, because nowadays we have this e-marketing everywhere, promotion activities happening. We call it as digital marketing as a whole. So how are we promoting we can promote our product that way as well, because you see most of the apps have advertisements popping up. Now I have framed a title for the study. It says a study to analyze significant usage of smartphones among men and women in Mysuru city. This is what I framed after eliminating all those words. um, if any one of you have tried for your article or something like that, you could share it with me, please. Share it with all of us, please. Are you trying? Do you want me to go back to the slides? Do you want to see any points? Do you want me to go back to the previous slide? Do you want to see the points? Hello?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Are you all working on that?
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes?
Good evening.
Yeah, good
Uh,
evening.
I just I just have framed a title for the same study,
Wonderful. Yeah.
a comparative study on
Yeah.
choice of apps among men and women in Mysore city.
Yeah, wonderful. I'm so happy you got to know how to frame a title. Wonderful. This is how you do it. So
Thank
same
you,
way.
ma'am.
Now this is for. I just gave you an abstract, and this is just an exercise. So I think when you write an article, the significance of writing the title is to attract people to read more about your article. Are you teaching? Hello. May I know what you're doing?
Excuse me, ma'am. I didn't get you.
No, I just wanted to know, are you teaching or are you
Yeah,
from the
I'm an
corporate? Are
assistant
you a
professor
student?
from Hyderabad.
Okay, okay. Wonderful. So you must be writing articles. Have you written, or are you
Yeah.
trying, attempting?
No, ma'am. I have written few articles already, and I'm associated with this knowledge cave for a long time. It's since
Okay,
COVID that
okay.
I am attending their sessions.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. See, then if you're already writing, you definitely would want people to cite your article, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so this is the tip, because we usually give more importance to the body of the letter, and we take the title for granted. We feel that the title is clear. So this is one small exercise which will help us to identify, because sometimes we get confused and we do not know whether the title is apt or not. And this gives us a very good way of identifying whether we have put in all the information required in that small sentence of 10 words or 12 words or 7 words or whatever. So that is a very nice title that you have mentioned. So this is how it is. I hope others are also following. Hello, are you all trying, or are you following?
Yes, madam, following. Thank you.
Oh, okay, okay. So I think I'll go ahead.
Yes,
I'll
please,
move
madam.
ahead. Yeah. So now this is what we have mentioned. Now I'm going to the keywords. Keywords, I said again, helps us to, we are talking about citation, we're trying to ensure that we just don't write something just to get it published, but we also have to ensure that we get it cited. So we need to have keywords. Now here for this I have mentioned marketing apps, because it was mentioned in the abstract as apps, so I put it as apps, and I in brackets put it as applications. Then mobile handset usage, mobile technology, smartphones, and so on. So you can give in any more that you want, or if you think that this is redundant and you want to change this, you can do that. So when this article is put up on the internet and somebody searches for maybe smartphones, maybe usage of smartphones, I want my article to come up there, and I want people to read that. So for to ensure that happens, my keyword should be correct. I hope you're able to understand the significance of the first part of the paper when you're writing the paper. So, one is your title, second is your abstract, and the third, most important, all these three are important, of course, are your keywords. If your abstract is interesting, that is when people will start reading more about your study. They'll go further to find out how did you do the finding, what was the outcome of the study, is it useful, or they get ideas and then they cite your article and then they say through this I got this idea and I'm going taking it forward. So all this becomes very important. So this is the first part of the writing of a title paper. Now let's go to the second division. I hope the first part is clear, and I don't want to waste time because we just have a little bit more time, and I have to ensure that you finish all this so that we can take it forward to the next session tomorrow. So the second division of the title is the main text where majority of us give more importance to. It's not that it is less important, but we once we do all, it's like how you present you cook a nice meal, how do you present it? You just don't dump it in some vessel, you put it, you have a different dish where you cook and where you serve. You don't cook and you serve in the same vessel, isn't it? Usually most of us don't do that. Even if it is a vessel which we can serve, we put it in something which is presentable. So this is what the title, the abstract, and the keywords do. Okay, so now moving on to the second division of the article. Now I have an acronym here so that new people who are writing the article, the well, somebody has written something. Madam, can you show just an overview of first division? uh, I didn't understand what you meant. Did you join in
Ma'am,
late?
yes, ma'am. The first slide I miss, ma'am. That's it.
Okay. I'll just go through it and then I'll go back
Yes, ma'am.
because
Yes, ma'am.
okay. So here what we do in the second division of the article, I put in an acronym called IRMADC, so that you remember the flow of the article. Okay, so first we have the title, the abstract, and the keyword. That is one part. Okay, that is the first overview for Praniti. Okay, now coming to the second part, this is the introduction. review of literature followed by methodology, your analysis, discussion, and conclusion. So when you come to the review of literature, you're also talking about the research gap. Okay, that's not mentioned there, it's not necessary. So keeping this in view, I just thought that will be easy for a person writing like just now Somya ma'am, right? She said she's already written paper, so for her it might not be a problem. But for someone who's writing it for the first time, you're attempting to write an article, this guidelines will help. So first you have the introduction, then the review of literature, you have the methodology, analysis, discussion, and then you conclude with the study. Now, what is this introduction? It is about your topic, about your study. It's simply a general description of what you're aiming to do. So, supposing I'm doing a study on consumer behavior, I don't have to write what is marketing or what is consumer behavior. It's not that. I'm giving an introduction to my study. I'm giving a background information to my study. I'm outlining. Okay, I'm outlining. I think I make it little more. Yeah, I'm outlining the research question or the problem statement. What's the problem statement? What I'm trying to address through this study and how I'm going to come out with an answer. This is my attempt. This is it. Okay, and or you can say purpose of the study. So this is the introduction. You're giving a brief introduction. Second, and please remember, we are not writing a thesis. The thesis, the format is the same. Only thing is we are writing more there. But now we are basically focusing on a paper. When you're talking about a paper, we are focusing on, it should be within 15 pages. It has to be within 10 pages. Thesis can be for 300 pages, 200 pages, right? Here we are briefing it out. So you don't have to write too much. Maybe 2 sentences is more than sufficient. Then you're writing your review of literature. Your review of literature means you're reviewing or you're going through similar studies conducted by several other people, and you're trying to identify how well they have done that study. What is the outcome of the study? Is there a new method of doing that study? And then you're coming up with your own views, your own thought processes. Maybe sometimes when you read a lot of literature review, it helps a lot. It definitely helps you look at things from a different perspective. And then when you do that, you will sometimes even change your objective sometimes, because we would have thought of something, and then after reading literature, we review literature from various other sources. We get to know that maybe this is redundant, or maybe there's a better approach to that particular problem. So this helps us a lot. So this review of literature also helps us to identify what I mentioned here as the research gap. So for the first timers, research gap is a area which has not been touched much, or very few study has been done on that area. See, that is so. In fact, literature review will also help you to identify a topic for your study. So that is how important it is. I'll tell you how it is show the kind of significance that review of literature has. And this review of literature is very much connected to the references, which we will be doing tomorrow. References and bibliography, which we will be doing tomorrow. It is very much connected. Okay, so this review of literature, you can do it in this way. It's a systematic review I have mentioned. And how will it help? To identify your research objectives. You can make it much better. Okay, and it also helps you to systematically frame your research questions. Okay, now for this, usually they use the Prisma model, because this helps us to justify and say why we have chosen that research objective, or how did we identify that research gap. The Prisma model will help us to identify that, and many universities help to do that. Insist that their research scholars do that. So it also helps us to strengthen the references and bibliography. I told you, you can't just see. This is how, when we review papers, articles that now sometimes I get some review articles, and when I go through that, since we are doing a lot, it is easy for us to identify that there is no link between the study and the reference. So that is easily, you can't just put in whatever you want. So there should be a link between your review of literature and the references or the bibliography that you have mentioned. There's a difference between reference and bibliography. I'll do it in the next session, but as of now, it is, many people use it interchangeably, though it is different. Okay, so let's stick on to the references part. Now, when it comes to review of literature, I told you about the PRISMA model. PRISMA is an acronym, okay, and it stands for Preferred Reporting Items for Preferred Reporting Items for Systematic Reviews and Meta-analysis. Meta-analysis because you have so much of data, like, when you go for I'll just show you that format. I think you'll be able to understand it much quicker and much better, much it'll be much clearer for you. When I ask for a topic, or you would have just tried that, you can try it out even now. If you have a system, you can just try it out. You can just type any topic and you'll get n number of papers. Okay, you will get so much of information, so many articles, blogs, or question answers, maybe even through Quora Digest. If somebody has answered that question, you will get that will pop up. So you have such many. So how do you, from that, how are you going to identify the articles that is really very pertinent to your study? So this is where you're going to use this Prisma model. Okay, so this is the way Prisma model is. This is how you can find it. You can find it on the internet. Okay, so this is if you can see, I do not know if it is visible. Should I put it this way? Is this much clearer? Is this much clearer, please?
No, madam.
No. Okay. So see here, what we, the Prisma, this is the Prisma model. It's not prepared by me, it's done. You can find it on the internet as well. So if you're doing a study, or if you're doing your research, I think most of the universities follow this. So you have this, first is identification, your screening, eligibility, and then those articles that you have included. Identification is when you go to the search engine and you ask for a particular topic. So now you are asking for a topic on consumer behavior towards some particular topic. So the moment you mention that, or I say stress level, studying the stress level, or work-life balance. So supposing you're saying something like that, you will find n number of articles coming, isn't it? That is the identification. So supposing your papers identified from Scopus. Now I'm just reading that, okay, what is mentioned there. So N, that is number, you've got 231 articles. From there, you're going to screen, because not all articles will be useful for you. Some may be written by a student as an essay. That might not be what you're looking for. Or maybe it might be a paper which doesn't have much information, or it is not up to the mark. So all that, once you screen, that is screening. So first is identification, then you're screening. So number of papers excluded. Sometimes you have duplicates as well. So you're from 231, you're coming to 228. And then you're coming to number of papers screened. You would have screened some papers, and then you remove them. Maybe it is not pertinent, or it's not written well, or maybe it's not the proper journal, so on and so forth. Then you come, see, from 231 it comes to 143. And then the papers that you removed, after assessing those papers, finding whether it is you divide them, and then into different sections. And then N becomes from 231, it's come to N is 75. And then finally the ones which you include will be only 68. So this is what they will sometimes expect you to show, how you have done it. And if you follow these rules, see, this is the reason why sometimes when you send it to Scopus, or the Q1 journals, your paper, is not accepted. When you do it in this way, many a times you get it aligned, because it's not because of the study, but because you have studied the actual real required information you have collected from the correct literature, correct studies, and that is giving you a better perspective, and your paper becomes much more refined. I'll just show you some other things. See, this is a Prisma model done by somebody. Again, I know it is not very clear, so I'll just go to another one. Yeah, before this, I think I can show you this. I do not know how I can. Is it visible? Can you see this full screen? Hello?
Yes,
Is it
ma'am.
visible? Yeah. So this is how
Yes,
the
ma'am.
Prisma model is. Can you, I'll just, scroll down. You can just go through it quickly. And this is very much available on the net as well. So this is how it is. I'll go back to the slide. So that's the Prisma model I was telling, we were discussing about. And another one is the protocol that needs to be followed for selection of the paper is like this. So again, this is Caldwell et al. Framework. This is also used for identifying the uh, literature that you go through. These are the questions that you need to ask and follow. So this is done in a tabulated way. There are 13 questions. I just briefly read a few. Does the title reflect the content? Are the authors credible? Is the aim of the research clearly stated? Are the major concepts identified? Are the results presented in a way that is appropriate and clear? Are the results generalizable? See, like that, you have 13 questions. And these questions will be put in this way. I know you can't read it, but I've just read it out to you. It will be put like this. And here you have paper 1, paper 2, paper 3, paper 4, paper 5. Okay, so this is how it will be. You have this paper, and when you add all of them, so if it is 0, it is not applicable. 1 is like average, 2 that way. Okay, and the total should come up to 30. If it is 30, it shows that the paper is relevant. So if you're asked on what basis have you chosen the paper, then you're saying it is based on this, because you show the Caldwell's template, and you justify the reason why you have chosen that particular article. Okay, so that is how it is done. So this is another Caldwell's somebody has done. This is paper 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see if they have done 10 papers, they've mentioned that. And then these are the questions, like whether, see here for one, they have mentioned partly. So partly, something like that. So 0 means it is not there or somewhere. So this is where, and then the total, they look into the total, and then that is how it is. You consider that paper or not. Once that is done, the next step for your literature survey, again, I'm sure you're not able to read, but I'll just read it out. The first is the serial number. Second is the paper number, that is your ISSN number or something. It will be mentioned right in the article. So that number. Then the title of that article, the author, the year, usually ensure that your literature is not more than 10 years old, until and unless you require a particular article to compare or do something like that. Otherwise, ensure that it is within 10 years. Year, then the objective of that study, the methodology they've adopted, conclusions, the relevance, and the limitations. See, this is very clearly defined reviews of summary of all the papers that you have done. Okay, so this justifies how well you have done a research to come out with. So your outcome will also be as strong as this. That is the thing. And then next, this will help you to come out with a research question. Again, you have the pico approach, which will help us to define a research question. It becomes more precise. We are not doing it on an arbitrary basis. That doesn't happen. And when I'm telling you all this, I'm just trying to, people, many of you here may be aware of it, but it is, I'm explaining this to those who are first timers or who has just started working on research. And one more thing is, we all know that nowadays, not only abroad but even in India, they're giving so much of importance to research and research articles, research work and research studies and so on. So the way the approach is happening, because there are a lot of the pseudo journals. You have people write who would write for you, ghost writers we call them. You have to pay them and then they'll do it. So when you are doing it with these kind of justification, you get the credibility for this, and then your citations go up, and that will actually help you for your overall study. Otherwise, even if you say you've written 100 papers, but if it doesn't have the justification, the value doesn't matter. You will not get the value that you think you require. That will not happen. So these are things that are being followed, and hence I thought, since it's a very formal a program that we are in, a session we are in, I thought it was my duty to just share this with those who are new to all these things or who are not aware of this. Okay, so the PICO approach is again an acronym. It stands for population, intervention, comparison, and outcome. That's PICO. So the population is, it helps us. So basically what is it doing? Once you finish your literature review, you're able to identify your research question. And to do the research question, how do you identify your research question? It helps us to refine and redesign our research question. How? One is population. That is, see, it is a specific group of what type of study. Now, this is about somebody doing something about HR analytics. So it is a specific group of employees or workflow segment under consideration based on job roles, departments, demographics, or some other criteria. And they've asked the question. And then intervention. Intervention variable that is being studied or implemented as a training program. Technology implementation, change being introduced, use of new policy based on HR analytics, and the comparison, comparing the effectiveness of analytics based HR practices with set standards, and the outcome. What is the impact of the application of analytics on employee productivity? How much time and costs are saved? See, they have mentioned it in this way. I found this good or very apt, and that's why I chose this. Next, we are going to the methodology. So you have identified your research gap, your objectives have been framed. Then the next step is the method that you're going to follow to do your study. So the method is not going to be common for all studies. It depends on the kind of study you do. The kind of, based on that, you decide on the statistical analysis you're going to follow, the process that you need to follow, the kind of method you're going to use to collect your data, and so on. Okay, so the research methods, this is the methodology overall, like your sampling size, your sampling design, your scope of the study, all these things come under methodology. It also, one more thing is, it you can also mention the limitations of your study under this section. And then comes the analysis. Once you collect the data, So once you have identified all this, you'll be very clear as to who will be your respondents, because you've done so much of study. The biggest work is in that literature review, because if that is clear, everything else falls in place. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. The moment you are able to identify that, everything else is very clear. Initially I think people might find that getting understanding a research study is difficult or something like that, literature. But trust me, initially you might find it boring, or but once you start reading, you will, it's very addictive. I've seen that happen to many people. So you need to, and you'll be also be able to, in a few sentences, by reading the abstract itself, you'll understand whether you need to go further or not. It's not necessary to read the whole thing. It's like that. So then you come to, I'm coming back, I come to the analysis part. So in the analysis, I'm going to use the data to analyze it using some statistical tools, and then the outcome of that statistical analysis will help me to analyze or interpret, and help me to suggest the kind of decision that I need to portray. So I'm giving a justified reason for the decision, or for the outcome of the study, and that will usually be in the right perspective. So that is the importance of the analysis. And based on the analysis, I have some discussions. There's the and conclusions. The discussions would be what we can do, what we cannot do, what we can predict. All that comes under discussions, and the conclusion is something like, what you can take, how you can take it forward, or what something like, basic, something like how you did your abstract, a summary of the whole paper. This is the summary of conclusion, is the summary of your analysis. Okay. How you can, yeah, suggestions for further research, significant contribution of the study, maybe to society, to the government, or to a particular company. Even that also comes under discussion. And now we are coming to the third division. I hope the second division is clear. I hope that is clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So now we are coming to the third. Thank you. Thank you. So now we are coming to the third division of the article, that is the references, bibliography, acknowledgement, and the supplementary data. Now, there isn't much here for me to tell, because we will be discussing this in a very big way in tomorrow's session. The references and bibliography. So this is a list of all the literature review that you have reviewed, and which you have put in your article, saying that I've cited it from this particular article, and so on. All that is the references. I told you there's a difference between bibliography and reference. Briefly to tell you, reference are the ones which you have included in your article, in your study. And bibliography need not be included, but they are the ones which you have referred for you to understand. It could be primary or it could be secondary. Okay, when you do that, just to understand more about your study, you want to get more information, so that will make you do your study better. That is bibliography. References are the ones which you have referred to, and you have mentioned, you're cited in your article. Okay, you have many reference managers. I'll share some more reference managers, but most common ones or more effective ones are the Mendeley and Zotero. I just mentioned it here. And then comes the acknowledgement and supplementary data. This is after the whole study. So reference ends the article or your study. So acknowledgement is where, if sometimes some journals may require you to do that, so in that case you will have to include. So the supplementary data is sometimes would be your they'll ask for a questionnaire, your questionnaire, which you have used to collect data. So in such cases, you may have to, some journals ask for that. ICFI journal asks for that. So you will have to share your questionnaire. Some may not, but you might require to give a supplementary data. Acknowledgement is when supposing the study has been done through some agency or through some funding agency, then you have to acknowledge that the study was done with the help of or the funding of or something like that. So you're acknowledging that there you're mentioning. Other than that, the supplementary data would mean or somebody has helped you to collect data or something like that, you can mention it there. The supplementary data is maybe you have some photographs, some images which you want to share to justify the study at some point in time or something like that. In some journals, sometimes they would insist that you write your whole article and mention the charts or figures or something after the paper. Some journals ask in that way. So that becomes the supplementary data. So this is, I think we are coming to the end of the session. These are the references that I used for this study, and my best wishes to all of you. So let's come to the question and answer. Yeah, you can ask me questions. You can shoot questions.
Madam, will you repeat this references and bibliography?
Yeah, yeah. What is it you would like to know about reference and bibliography?
In the article at the end,
Ah.
whether you have to mention references and bibliography or only references.
No, I will be doing this in detail in tomorrow's
Okay,
session,
fine.
because we are talking totally about that. And as I mentioned, but I will answer your question. See, when you, if you have used both, you can write references and bibliography. And if it is only references, you can mention your reference. I'm repeating. References are those which you have mentioned in your, say, literature review. If you have, you already written articles, or are you a new time, you're just trying, attempting to write articles? I'll do one thing, let me show you an article. Just a minute, I'm trying to share an article. Yeah. Now, I think the article is visible. Here, you can see something which is the second part, review of literature. I'll do one thing. I'll go from the beginning so that you can see the whole article. I kept this for, see, this is the title page. This is that I'll answer your question. Please,
Okay, madam.
sorry for just to explain so that then you will understand. I think you will get your answer. See, this is the title page I mentioned. So you're, see the title, the author, then the communication address, my affiliation, email ID, so on. Then I have written the title again and the abstract. If you can see the abstract, and then I have the keywords here, and it is in an alphabetical order. And then the introduction, I mentioned that is the second part, followed by the review of literature. Now you were asking me, I'm coming to your answering your question. Now here I have taken certain gone through certain literature, and I have quoted that here. So like Neena Simha and Neelam Dal 2020 investigated into relationship between factors, so on. Then I mentioned about Dr. Pankaj Kumar, then Mohammad Al-Boshi et al., then Shiri Bhuvaneshwari, and so on. See, you can see all this, right? See, now what this constitutes references. I hope I'm making myself
Okay.
clear.
Sure.
All these things come under references because I have to mention their name, because I have to cite, I have to give credit because I got these answers through them. I got more information through them because each one of them must have taken 1 year or maybe 3 months or 4 months. I'm reading it in 10 minutes and getting some answers. So I have to, credit them with that. So this is called as references. Okay, bibliography, maybe my friend told me something, my colleague gave me some information, or I was watching the television and I got some information. I'm not see, that also becomes reference. It's not wrong. But if I've not taken it into my study, but I've taken it only to get an idea based on which I come up with something on my own and I do, this is bibliography. I hope I'm trying to make it as
Yes, yes.
simple as
Got
possible.
it. Yeah. Thank
Okay, so reference is something what I have mentioned in the. I'm referring it so that somebody else who reads my paper and they want to know more about it can always go to the reference section. Now I'll go to the reference section. This is the statement of the research problem, then the need and significance of the study, the objectives of my study, the scope of the study, the research methodology. I have framed a hypothesis, the research design, see data source, sampling, analysis, limitations, then the analysis that I have done, and then I have justified why I have 132 respondents for the study and why I feel that is sufficient. Then I have gone to some this hypothesis testing summaries that I have done, some statistical analysis that is completed, and then I've done some test statistics, and then I come to the suggestions and conclusions, what I mentioned, all the three sections. See now, here I've mentioned bibliography, right? I mentioned bibliography. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
No,
Below that, you have mentioned books and journals.
I just mentioned book. So I should not be mentioning that. I should be mentioning references and bibliography, correct?
Correct. Correct.
I hope now you're clear.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
books and journals is fine, but this section is called as references and bibliography. I mentioned that I took it as a PDF just to show you, to show the not you, I mean everybody, so that can identify, because otherwise you're simply reading and we are going. I should mention it as reference and bibliography because I just now showed you a list of references, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I should mention, I should mention it as reference. So references and bibliography. Bibliography because I have taken some this one from some places, but I've not used it for the study. I've only used it for my understanding or to get more information or something like that. Now, I hope you got this. Is this clear?
Clear. Thank
So
you.
this is how the study is done. This is how a paper is, framed. I don't claim to do the best because every day is a learning process. We are students continuously, but I tried to share whatever I knew on how you can frame. Here and there, I made this because I converted it into a PDF just to show how that is done. Now, I'll be showing this again to show you referencing tomorrow, the styles of referencing tomorrow. That time I'll show the other actual one, the corrected one, because here I wanted you to understand that particular perspective. I had to do it tomorrow, but since this question prompted in, I did it here so that I usually most of my sessions will have a little bit of activity like this, and that is how I added it. So I hope I've made myself clear. Is there any questions? Any other questions you would like me to answer?
Hello, ma'am. Good
Yes.
evening, ma'am.
Very good evening.
Yeah, ma'am. It was a wonderful session, and really, I would like to thank you that we are in need of such sessions. I just wanted to
Thank
know
you. You're
that can
welcome.
we? Yeah, yes, ma'am. Can we have recording of this session, ma'am, of yours?
I do not know because
Yes,
uh,
Okay, yes. Okay,
yes,
okay.
ma'am.
Thank
Yes,
you,
ma'am.
Bola sir. Thank you, Bola
Yes,
sir. Thanks a lot.
I'll
Because
upload. I will upload today night only in our
okay,
YouTube channel, and I'll
okay,
share the
okay.
link also in the group.
Yeah, sure, sir. Sure,
Right?
sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
thank you so much, sir.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Any other questions? Kindly feel free. Somebody has mentioned a message. Uh, Anjali ma'am. Thank you, Vasanthi ma'am. The insights shared during the session are very useful. It gave a nuanced understanding of the mechanics of writing a paper. I appreciate the clarity with which you communicated with the participants. Kudos to your energy. Just one request, if you could share the presentation in full screen, it would be useful for the participants. I suggest you logging in on mobile phone parallelly to access that chat. Thank you once again, ma'am. Yeah, I just tell you what happens is if I log in through a mobile full screen, here I tried to do that full screen, but it was not visible. I asked whether it is visible. He said no, and Google with Google Meet, that is one problem. It doesn't help share, especially. Are you using the mobile phone? Anjali ma'am, are you using the mobile phone?
I'm actually logged in on my computer, but I just thought if you could do that, it would be useful. But if Google is not really allowing it, then probably that would not work out, right?
Yeah, that is the reason. I usually don't use. And another thing is, if I use two systems, it will start echoing, and we'll have some internet connectivity problem. Usually, we have that. I've, my through my little experience, I am saying that. So that is the reason I don't use it. I use it only for maybe to connect it to the hotspot in case the other doesn't work. I keep it as a standby. I usually don't. I haven't found it comfortable. Even now, I just try to make it full screen, but it was not visibly sharing. I was not able to share. So, I mean, to go to the next slide, I found it very difficult. It was getting stuck. Or I do not know. Maybe there's some other technicalities to it. I'm not sure. So that is it. But I'll try, let us see if I can try and find out if there is a way if that can be done. Then fine. I'm sorry if was there any inconvenience where you're not able to go through something. You can always ask me, and I can help you clarify that.
Very clear. Otherwise, it was totally fine, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Any other questions, please?
Ma'am, this is Soumya.
Yes, Soumya, please tell me, ma'am.
Ma'am, I just request you if there is any possibility to throw some insights on JEL codes, because in the recent past I have been watching so many new articles in and around coding this JEL codes below the keywords.
Okay.
So, what could be the benefit of coding, giving those relevant codes to the, to our research work?
See, what is happening is, see, I am also not very accustomed to that is very new. See, what is happening is there are some bots which you can create yourself. I think you're aware of that. You
Yes.
can create a something like a GPT. You can create your own. Are you aware of that? You can create your own bot. You've heard of chatbots?
No, ma'am, not exactly.
Okay,
No.
so this is helping to identify. See, when I ask a question, I can. You've heard of people writing articles using this chatbots and GPTs. Are you aware of that?
No, ma'am, no.
Okay, uh, they do that. So what happens is, this is also a form of indexing. That much I know, because I'm not a software engineer. I can't, I'm not that much proficient to tell you, but so much I know that just like how the keywords are being uh, help the indexing agencies to identify whether this study is what a person asking through a search engine is asking. Like, I said I want to know about consumer behavior or work life balance, women work life balance. If I mention that, and I get n number of answers, right, on my screen. It may go to 2000 or even 2 lakh. So how is that screened from the n number of data that is there, the big data that is available in the internet? Because it uses these keywords, and these keywords are used for identifying all these things, and then that is displayed to us. Now what they are trying to do is, using that, they try to put it into to ensure that, even there your it is linking to that. I can say that much. I know I'm not very much proficient in that. Oh,
Okay, ma'am. Thank
GPT
you.
is kind of AL. Yeah, somebody has mentioned. Yeah, GPT is helping. So you're giving some kind of a link to identify. See, everybody, until and unless, see, what about YouTube? Why do they ask for you to subscribe, or give a thumbs up or something like that? Because it counts for them. Similarly, for a researcher, the more citations you get, it adds on. You get your H index and so on. So similarly, to make people, when you have so many options, how is a researcher choosing your topic? Until and unless it comes out first, then you look into all that. So to ensure that the relevant articles are taken, they are using this, because there's so much of information. And when I want some, see, we are in industry 5.0 now. We can't wait. We find it what is it, difficult. Some 10 years ago we could wait for some time, but now it is, we totally can't. At the moment we see the buffering happening, we start grumbling, and we start doing all those kind of sighs, and we get annoyed and all that. But what happens, because of that, the moment we have become so much accustomed to technology, so when we ask for something, we immediately want it. And these are systems that are helping us to access things quickly. I can only I know only about that, that particular aspect, only that much.
Yes, ma'am. As you rightly said, what I have noticed is uh, putting few JEL relevant codes below the keywords actually
Yeah.
helped me to increase my citations also.
Yes.
So even my citations have gone up for my articles. So that's how
Yeah.
I felt that would be very helpful for all the new researchers to
Yes.
improve their H index and
Yes,
get
yes,
good
yes, yes.
citations.
But how it is done, and those technicalities, I'm not from that stream, so I'm not able to give a proper what do you say. I can only tell what it is, but I do not know
Right.
how it is done.
Not an issue. Thank you so much, ma'am. It was
Welcome.
indeed a good session.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Anything else? Anybody needs something else? Oh, there's so much you have written. Oh, somebody, she has just used Chat GPT to get a reply for the question, and this is what it replied. Yeah. See, she has mentioned. I think the others also can read, and you can understand. See how it went. So, if to get this particular answer, and see, now you have bots, you can create your own bot, and you can give in answers. So, when it asks for questions, and if you are able to answer that, or sometimes, they are just introducing it. So if you I just created one recently. So it asks you a question, and if you are able to answer, next time somebody somewhere is asking a question, your answer, similar question, your answer will come up. And that way you're identifying. You've heard of metaverse and so on. All that is happening. So many things happening across. Technology is mind boggling. So many things. We feel that we are, there's so much to understand, and there's need for so much of, we feel time is not sufficient. That's what I feel sometimes. But I too found the session very engrossing and engaging, and thank you all for making me also feel very happy. I'm sure you are also, everybody else feels the same, because just a few of you all interacted. But I hope it was useful for everyone. So shall we call it a day? Or is
Yes,
there
ma'am.
any question? I'm still available.
Uh, Thank you, ma'am. So I think that we are done with today's session. It was wonderful and a lot of new things, new insights to know and
Thank you.
understand. And those who are interested, know for artificial intelligence, no link to it, research or SLR, or even for writing report. So we had some sessions in the past, and all those videos are uploaded in our YouTube channel. I'll share the link so all of you can go through, because this is a kind of collaborative learning. We should help each other and collectively we should know something which we don't know. So it was a fantastic session, ma'am,
Thank
and
you so much.
very nice to have you with us this evening. And looking forward for tomorrow's session. And thank you all the participants. Then let's go up the air and catch you tomorrow evening at 7 a.m. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Thank you so much
Namaskar,
and good
ma'am.
night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam. One nation, Swaraj Garden.